Episode 46. The Outcast. Jitesh was brilliant. His concepts of mathematics and physics were so clear that he would grasp everything in a matter of minutes. But his brilliance was always sneered upon because he was a small towner and not from the upper echelons of society. He was an outcast. In the first year of our engineering program, we were all scared. Rumors about seniors harassing the juniors were rampant everywhere. We never knew when we would become the shikar, the prey of the seniors. But Jitesh was more scared than us for obvious reasons. I first met Jitesh in the lobby of our hostel in the C block. He was carrying a huge metal trunk. It was very heavy. I had just met my roommate Rinku. We realized that it will be difficult for Jitesh to carry this huge metal trunk all by himself to the first floor. Both of us promptly offered to help him. To this day, I haven't forgotten his face. He was so shocked that someone was offering to help him. Jitesh bowed his head and told us, नहीं भैया, आपसे हमारा सामान कैसे उठवा सकते हैं? And with supreme difficulty, Jitesh pulled the metal trunk up to the first floor. Pratyush and Jitesh were put in the same room. The former was appalled to have an outcast as his roommate. Pratyush immediately requested for a room change. When the rector refused to change his room for this reason, Pratyush was furious. He decided to harass poor Jitesh in other ways so that the poor boy would run away from the room. Jitesh would find his cupboard in a mess. His only pair of black sandals would be polished with brown shoe polish. One day when Jitesh opened his cupboard, a large rat jumped out. Jitesh was horrified. When I approached Tripathi sir, our rector, he saw no reason to be overprotective about Jitesh. अरे थोड़ा टफ होने दो उसको. अभी सेकेंड ईयर में आएगा तो सीनियर से मिलना ही पड़ेगा. तब what will he do? How long can we provide him with protection? जहां जन्म लिया है वहां का कुछ तो कर्ज चुकाना पड़ेगा ना. Jitesh had only 2 pairs of trousers and both appeared to be hand-me-downs. He would take turns and wash them regularly. Just a week before our first submissions, Jitesh couldn't wash the dirty trouser. So on a Sunday he washed both together and meanwhile wrapped a bedsheet around his waist. As the trousers were hung to dry, someone smeared them badly with mud. Jitesh had nothing to wear to the classes the next day. He knew if he washed them again, the same mischief would be repeated. Jitesh was so heartbroken at this incident. He knew that Pratyush and his friends were the culprits, but he did not have the courage to name them. Pratyush by now had formed a gang in the hostel. They would all be at their best behavior in the classes. But back in the hostel, they would plot and scheme and scare the daylights out of Jitesh. Pratyush's mischiefs would traumatize poor Jitesh. Rinku and I on most evenings would bring him over to our room. Jitesh would squat down in one corner on the floor and begin to read. But very often the two of us saw him with head bowed down and tears streaming down his cheeks. His silent tears haunt me to this day. The 3 of us would go for our meals to the mess together. But one day, Pratyush and his gang put up a special show for Jitesh. The moment the poor lad sat down with his plate of food, some 25 students from adjoining tables got up in unison and loudly pushed back their chairs. They chaotically began to drag the tables and chairs to the farthest corner of the mess, all the time shouting loudly, "Chalo, chalo, chalo, dur hato, dur ho jao, chalo, dur chalo." There was a stunned silence in the eating area. Jitesh was shell-shocked. He did not eat anything for 2 full days. Thankfully, Dubeji, our mess contractor, came to Jitesh's rescue. He set up a routine for Jitesh. When Pratyush and gang would finish eating, Dubeji would send a boy from the mess to call Jitesh. With head lowered down, Jitesh would go to the mess almost like a thief. Always scared that Pratyush or his friends would appear again, Jitesh hardly ate a full meal. He would quickly gulp down his meals in maybe 6 or 7 minutes and rush back to the room. Jitesh would, however, never miss a single lecture. Though very scared at all times, he somehow found a safe refuge in mathematical numbers, principles of physics, and even the chemistry formulae. These were perhaps the only things he could conquer, and which did not make him feel like an outcast. Our rooms were in Block C of the hostel buildings. Blocks A and B were for the seniors. The seniors were not allowed to come to Block C, but Block C was not inaccessible for them. The guards outside Block C were too few and easy to bribe. So our encounters with our seniors began way before we could finish the junior year. The seniors would often sneak in around midnight and parade us all in the corridors. Poor Jitesh would get roughed up in the worst possible manner. Rinku was tall, hefty and well-built. He tried his best to protect Jitesh, but more often than not, he failed to do so. Whenever the seniors came, they would single out poor Jitesh and assign the most menial tasks to him. He would have to fill in their journals, polish their shoes, wash their clothes, and also iron them. We knew that Pratyush had conveyed to the seniors that Jitesh was an outcast. So poor Jitesh was almost treated like a pariah. Jitesh dared not protest. Initially, when the seniors first broke into our hostel and began to harass Jitesh, we ran to our rector, Tripathi sir. Sir, seniors aa gaye. Seniors aa gaye hain, sir. And they are going to attack us, sir. They are ragging some of us on the top floor. Especially Jitesh, sir. Please, बचा लो sir usko. Please save him, sir. Please. But Tripathi sir just smiled back. After standing in silence for a couple of minutes, we realized he was not going to do anything at all. As we turned to leave, he spoke loudly to us. सुनो, इधर आओ. कॉलेज में कल कहीं कंप्लेन मत कर देना. You have to survive here for 4 long years. So don't create enemies unnecessarily. Don't put your future at stake for someone else. याद रखो, जिनको उठना है ना, खुद ही उठ जाएंगे. उनके लिए तुम नीचे मत गिरना. नीचे मत गिरना. This was the advice Tripathi sir gave to us in reference to Jitesh. नीचे तो क्या, Jitesh पूरा का पूरा ऊपर ही उठ गया. We had understood that the poor boy wouldn't be able to put up with this kind of exploitation and trauma for too long. Naively, he had thought that education is the key that will open all the doors for him. But poor chap had no idea that outcasts are not allowed to educate themselves. Since millenniums, the so-called educated society has made every effort to keep the downtrodden at the last rung of the ladder. Any effort by these people to climb up is met with scorn and apathy. Cruelty then is not far away. With Jitesh, this is what happened. When we came back from the summer break, there was no Jitesh. We tried to find out about him, but there were no answers. Finally, the canteen boy told us that the day after we left for the summer break, some people came over and threw his belongings out in the corridor, and Jitesh himself was pushed outside the hostel gate. We were very despondent, but we ourselves soon got lost in the maze of classes, assignments, exams, lab sessions, placement worries, journals, girlfriends, submissions, hundreds of such tasks. A few months afterwards, we actually forgot about Jitesh. It has been 15 years since we all became engineers and took up plush jobs. But the memory of Jitesh always haunts me, and I wonder if a temple of education could become the place where a young boy was tortured and ostracized. Then don't we need to rethink and look deeply at our cultural evolvement and ideology? Who failed him? The system? The authorities? The peer pressure? A regressive mentality? Heaven knows. But the truth remains that Jitesh couldn't become the Sahab he wanted to, for no fault of his.